Let's slow this down for a minute. And today we're going to talk about attachment styles, feelings, stress, survival mode. And I want to be very clear from the start. This is not about blaming your childhood. It's not about diagnosing your ex, and it's not about shaming yourself for how you cope. This is about understanding what happens inside of us when we feel emotionally unsafe. So we stop unconsciously sabotaging connection while telling ourselves, "Oh, we're just being sensitive or protective." And attachment styles are not personalities. They're nervous systems. They are how your body learned to survive connection. And if you grew up in an environment where your feelings were noticed or responded to and made sense of, your nervous system learned that emotions were safe and manageable. A lovely thing. And if you grew up, sorry, and if you grew up having to suppress emotions and earn love and stay quiet and stay alert or take care of other people's feelings, your nervous system learned that emotions were dangerous. So So now as adults, we don't feel emotions, we react to them. And that reaction often has very little to do with the present moment and everything to do with really what your body remembers. And here's something important to understand. No attachment style lacks feelings. So secure attachment doesn't mean that you're never triggered. It means feelings are allowed and expressed and they're regulated. An anxious attachment they feel deeply, but they often panic around those feelings because there's like a fear that if I feel this, I might lose you. An avoidant attachment, they feel too, but learned early that emotions, they just cost too much, that if I feel this, I lose control. And fearful avoidant attachments want closeness and fear at the same time. If I feel this, I could be abandoned or consumed. So the issue isn't emotions. The issue is about what emotions were associated with growing up. Now, excuse me. Now let's talk about stress because stress that changes everything. And when stress enters the body, logic leaves the building and your thinking brain goes offline, your survival brain takes over. And that's why in moments of conflict or even emotional intensity, you might forget your point, like mid sentence. You might not remember how you felt yesterday, and you might say things that don't reflect your values, or you might shut down completely. And that's not manipulation. It's not weakness. It's just biology. For many people, feelings weren't welcomed. They were punished or dismissed and minimized or ignored. So now emotions feel like a threat to control and a threat to safety and a threat to connection. And avoiding feelings isn't avoidance of truth. It's avoidance of being overwhelmed. So this is where survival mode kicks in. And survival mode is what happens when your nervous system believes that you're in danger. Like it can be emotionally or even just you know, relationally with other people. Your body does not distinguish between a physical threat and an emotional one. A partner pulling away, a critical tone, feeling misunderstood, feeling abandoned. Your nervous system reacts the same way it would if you were being chased. And it feels like it too, and it activates one of the four responses. You got fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And, fright looks like defensiveness and arguing and proving the point and controlling the narrative. And flight looks like withdrawing and avoiding and distracting and disappearing emotionally or even physically. Freeze looks like just going blank, like you're shutting down and you're feeling stuck or even feeling numb. And fawn looks like people pleasing and over apologizing and self abandoning, just to keep the peace. And these are not character flaws. These are reflexes. How about that? So here's where it does get uncomfortable, but it is honest. Under stress, anyone can show narcissistic traits, not narcissism, traits. And when survival mode takes over, you might notice yourself centering the conversation on yourself or losing empathy when you feel hurt and needing to be right instead of connected and deflecting responsibility and withholding care as punishment. The list goes on. And this does not make you a narcissist. It means your system is flooded. When your nervous system is in survival mode, there's no room for anyone else. And when attachment styles and survival mode collide, they create patterns. An anxious attachment in survival mode, they chase reassurance and over explain and push for closeness and then feel ashamed for being too much. And avoidant attachment in survival mode, it withdrawals, they intellectualize, they minimize feelings, and then resents being asked to engage in this. And fearful avoidant attachment swings, reaching, retreating, defending, collapsing because safety feels unpredictable. Even secure people get triggered. The difference is how quickly they return to regulation and how quickly they return to repair. So the pattern isn't the problem. Staying unconscious of it is, because when survival mode, runs the show, feelings are going to trigger stress, and stress reinforces attachment defenses. And so defenses confirm our deepest beliefs. I'm too much. People can't be trusted. Closest isn't safe. I always get hurt, and then we call it chemistry or bad luck or fate instead of just a nervous system loop. And healing isn't about never reacting. It's about noticing sooner and repairing faster. It's about naming when you're flooded, pausing instead of pushing, and owning defensiveness without attacking yourself, and returning to conversations regulated. Secure attachment isn't perfection. It's accountability with compassion. And your survival mode once kept you alive, but it doesn't get to run your relationships forever. You are not broken. You are patterned. And patterns, they can be interrupted when you're willing to look in the mirror without flinching. You got to be honest with yourself. Nobody can fix you from that. But don't hesitate to reach out. I do one-on-one coaching. I'll walk you through this. I know it's not easy. I know it's much easier said than done, but you don't have to do it alone. And I've been there. So have a great day. Stay blessed.